The main obstacle which I realize is happening is we have a lot of limiting beliefs. And these limiting beliefs are on our subconscious level. This is why my IQ didn't work well, because everything was happening on the other side. And everything that I was feeling, especially that fear, was transformed through my mind. And of course, that is not high potential. So I needed to clean my mindset, to transform the way I think, to allow myself to feel what I feel, and then to increase these two levels of my own being to the level of high potential. It is a process which takes time, but it is possible. And when you step out in your full potential, in your authenticity, in your high level emotional, intellectual growth that you ever can reach, then everything else pretty much falls into the right place.
Well, I am really excited for my next guest. I know I say that I'm always excited for my guests, but I'm really excited for my next guest because, first off, I can call her a friend, and she is such an amazing lady. She's internationally recognized as a business coach. She's known as the LinkedIn Wonder Woman. I mean, that's quite the title. And on top of all of that, she's a best-selling author. Her book is called Live from Your Heart and Mind, The Secret to the Simplicity of Connecting Your Heart and Mind on the Road to Happiness and Success. So I want to welcome my friend, Catherine B. Roy. I feel like there should be applause. Yay!
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
So I want to dig first into this book because you talk about being in balance when your heart and your mind are in sync, when they work together, so that you can have this more empowered, more full life. So tell me about that. I mean, it sounds easier than what it is. So, what made you write this book, and tell me about being in balance?
Well, Live from Your Heart and Mind actually present my signature system for emotional intellectual growth. And it is based on algorithms and formulas for emotional growth and IQ training for intellectual growth. One day, I actually was invited to do Mensa IQ test. And I went there without any expectations. But what happened is that Mensa couldn't mention my IQ because it was over 156. And I took that as a talent, which I wanted to share with the world. But then, wait a minute, I had this IQ all my life. Still, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So something was missing, right?
Okay.
So it's not just about intellect, it actually has to be something else. So I started to learn a lot and to investigate a lot about emotional intelligence. And then I realized we have so many sides of ourselves: intellectual, emotional, physical, spiritual, however. But these two sides, if they are not on our highest level and in balance, we can't live most fulfilled life that we are all supposed to, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So first I was thinking, how can I present this to the world? And I was doing a lot of meditations back then, which is not something business coaches are famous for, right? But yeah, I was working on my inner growth with Deepak Chopra, and I started receiving informations from my inner self. Honestly,
And how
I
did you
didn't.
get that? I mean, was it just thoughts that you were getting, or I mean, tell me
Yes,
about that.
yes. It
Okay.
was it was a thought process, but to be honest, I kind of didn't understand it. We're talking about 2012, for
Okay.
example, so 10 years ago. But I was writing it down. And since I was a programmer, the easiest way for me to present something was an algorithm.
Right.
So I was writing and drafting these algorithms, trying to understand what I was receiving through these processes. And this is how books started to unfold in front of me. I've injected my own story and showed people how we can go from being in the basement and surviving bombing, you know, that part of my life,
Right.
until becoming a business coach for clients in 30 countries now.
That's a big transformation.
It's an identity transformation. So it's not just skills or how we work, but it's a complete energy and identity shift.
Absolutely. So when anyone says, I can't do something, or I mean, just think about the transformation. Like you went from being in a basement of a hotel, for those of
Mhm.
you that don't know her story, basement of a hotel when you were 17, correct? I think
Yes,
is
I
what it
was
was when you were
17.
17, when there was the bombing in Yugoslavia. And it was for what, 80 days or a long
28
time.
days.
So
Yes.
imagine, especially what's going on right now in this world, having to hide out in a bomb shelter because you're so afraid for your life that at any moment it could be extinguished. And then going from there to being a world renowned expert in LinkedIn and being a business coach, that just shows that the power of wanting to do something, I think.
Yes. And honestly, implementing the system which I developed in the book.
Yeah.
The main obstacle which I realize is happening is we have a lot of limiting beliefs.
Mm,
And these limiting beliefs are on our subconscious level. This is why my IQ didn't work well,
mm,
because everything was happening on the other side. And everything that I was feeling, especially that fear, was transformed through my mind. And of course, that is not high potential.
mm,
So I needed to clean my mindset, to transform the way I think, to allow myself to feel what I feel, and then to increase these two levels of my own being to the level of high potential. It is a process which takes time, but it is possible. And when you step out in your full potential, in your authenticity, in your high level emotional, intellectual growth that you ever can reach, then everything else pretty much falls into the right place.
So, is there a formula, or what's, I guess, like what would be some initial steps for an entrepreneur that is really out of sync with their life, out of sync with their business, out of sync with their personal life?
Mhm.
Everything's kind of incongruent for them.
Mhm.
Any suggestions on like the first few steps that maybe they can take?
Mostly, what is happening is a disconnection with our higher self. So, we are not allowing ourselves, for whatever reason, to be the best version of ourselves. And in most cases, that's fear, any kind of form of fear. Now, fear is something that is just a mechanism of our brain, and that's what we need to understand. It is a good thing because it is showing up we are going into the right direction. This is a complete shift. So the formula is pretty much simple. We need to believe in ourselves and to understand that when we feel fear, that's the way we should go. Now, when we were like humans living with wild animals, it was obviously okay to feel fear, right? When I was in that bomb shelter, it was okay to feel fear. Now, when I compare any other situation to that one, that's not real fear because I'm not going to die. That's my mind playing games with me, protecting me from unknown. And where the success is behind the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we need to strengthen ourselves, to strengthen our emotional potential. And I have 10 um, segments of life in the book which cover this with different formulas and algorithms. So when we are complete, then we are like a ball. And we don't attract people who are not complete and they are not like a ball, right?
Right,
But
right.
if we are in this connection with ourselves, as you described at the beginning, we're going to attract opportunities which are not connected to what is the best for us, people who are not the best for us. Everything is energy. But if we do love ourselves and feel complete, then we will have that energy of attracting people who are in the same frequency as we are, as well as opportunities. So everything builds up upon that. Inner self work is the most important. And I'm doing my inner self work since 2008. So this is a process. We need to fall in love with ourselves just as we are in order for the world to love us. And you don't expect a girl like me to be heard or be seen. I come from a small country. I lived through so many things. That's not for mainstream media. But I didn't ask for a permission. I just announced myself to the world, and that's all.
You absolutely did, because I know that you have this amazing following. But I just kind of want to go back to this, the inner self worth, to fall in love with yourself.
Mhm,
That actually has a lot of different connotations, because fall in love with yourself, maybe you fall in love with your business again.
mhm,
That's actually one of the things I teach, is how to fall in love with a product that
mhm.
at one time you were really in love with, and maybe after a lot of things you fell out of love in it. But how, I mean, what type of tools do you use? It sounds like you use meditation. Do you journal? I mean, what type of tools, like if they were going through your, I think it's 10 steps or your 10 formulas, what do you suggest for people? What type of tools they should use?
Well, the one of the algorithms which I love the most is the love algorithm,
That sounds
and
interesting.
and it makes a distinction. Um, so first of all, the same advice might not work for different people. So my algorithms are based on anyone giving themselves an answer. So the solution is always different, but it works for that specific person. The love algorithms makes a distinction between ego, self-love, and really soul self-love, or an ego love for another person and a soul love for another person. So again, ego is just a mechanism of our brain which is protecting us
Hmm.
from not being hurt. So first thing we need to ask ourselves, if we're talking about self-love, is it ego self-love? So we have a barrier and we don't allow world to approach us, or it is really soul self-love. If it is ego self-love, then I'm inviting everyone to try to connect with themselves through any kind of meditative technique or whatever works for them to have that peace of mind, peacefulness within themselves, to feel joy and to discover soul self love. And soul self love is absolutely unconditional. And it is something which we are made of. So I make distinction between emotions and feelings. Emotions are processed feelings through our mind. For my mindset, I went very deep with the hypnosis to find limiting beliefs on subconscious level and to transform them. Because I know if I feel love, but that love is processed through the mind, which is afraid, I'm not going to succeed. So, first, we are learning about soul self love and the soul love for everything and everyone else. And then, if we discover that we don't have that connection with ourselves, we need to establish one. Or if we don't have a good connection with our partner, most probably it is not soul self love. And then we need to discover why we are in that relationship, why we really do that business, why we don't love that product anymore. And that reason needs a cure. So it is not like we fall in love and we fall out of love. We would never fall out of love if it was a soul self love. So I'm helping people to do what they love, because then that's unlimited and long-term process. It is not something which have an expiration date.
Wow. I would say that's very deep and very profound. It really is. It's thought provoking, whether it's for yourself, your soul self love, or it's the love of your product or your spouse or your business, whatever it might be. So we're definitely going to have in the show notes a link to her book that you can get, because it sounds like it's something that can help in so many different areas of your life. When you went into writing that book, was that the outcome that you were looking for, or did it just kind of pour out of you when you did your book?
It was a very long-term process. And I just knew that I have something to share with the world and to help at least one person. But I didn't know how it's going to unfold. I knew that I am going to write a book. I knew that I'm going to publish it in the United States, having no idea how to do that. I knew that I will be a best-selling author, having no idea how to do that. But my system is actually cure for very serious social problems like domestic violence and bullying, anxiety, unhappiness at work, and functional learning, which is actually high only in Asian countries. And why is that? Why their culture and their pictorial letter and their environment makes such a huge effect on them, so that they really have better results on functional learning, on work, everywhere, and so low level of these problems which I just mentioned. So I was connecting east and west and actually trying to make a mix of everything that I know, not knowing how that's going to unfold, until I started receiving thoughts from people all around the world, what they think about when they read my book. And I have to be honest, my book was published first time in January 2017. I was mom just 3 months, and packages from all over the world for my son's birth were coming to
Wow.
my place.
Wow. I could tell you, I could probably talk to you all day just about this book because it's really interesting and it sounds like it's something that everyone needs to read. But I also want to talk about another book that you have as well called LinkedIn Decoded. And it's how to go viral online. Talk about it's almost like left brain, right brain here.
You see, I
A
told
little
you.
bit, right?
This is why they can't measure it.
That's right. That's right. Um, because LinkedIn is a gold mine for entrepreneurs. So it sounds like to me that you have cracked the code in LinkedIn. So let's talk about that.
Well, I was programmer 15 years. So I'm obviously, again, speaking my language. Like there were algorithms in the book, now there are codes which are decoded. But LinkedIn Decoded is just a short ebook, which is an introduction to my signature programs. And it gives precisely uh, different elements around visibility and engagement on LinkedIn, so that we can be seen, heard, and actually grow our business this way. The idea of the title was from my business partner who was building the system behind the LinkedIn Decoded. And I loved it so much because I transformed my life from being a programmer to being a business coach. And it really is that way. I had a session in Microsoft. I was talking about business growth, and they asked me about LinkedIn, and I told them, because Microsoft owns LinkedIn, do you really want me to disclose my secrets to you so you change the algorithms? No, 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 no.
No,
It was
not for
fun.
Microsoft, but maybe for us.
Maybe for us, yeah. So it's a snippet. It's a very short book. Just I don't know, maybe 15 pages around visibility, engagement, what works, what doesn't work, and how we can utilize everything that can be learned about LinkedIn to grow our business. Because I truly believe, and I'm in love with it, and I guess that's why they call me LinkedIn Wonder Woman, because I disclose the truth. I tripled my business several times, especially during the COVID, only via LinkedIn, because all decision makers are there. Companies I would like to collaborate and work for are there. TV producers, editors, podcasts, everyone who has a value found value on LinkedIn because LinkedIn gives us 100% of visibility. None of other social media does. And this is a perfect time for us to actually be recognized as a leading expert on LinkedIn. And I believe that when we are recognized as a leading expert on LinkedIn, it has much more value than being a leading expert on Facebook because we know who
Yes,
hang out
absolutely.
on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is like a social networking event, while Facebook and Instagram are like having a party in our backyard. Yeah,
It's
different
true.
people.
And I think there's credibility with LinkedIn as well.
Yes, there is credibility with it. So I'm completely in love with it. The people are not wasting their time doing a lot of different things like on other social media, but they're focused on growth, both personal and business growth. And companies like Goldman Sachs and Microsoft and TEDx and all these big guys actually found me there. So that's my jam. And LinkedIn is just a channel for business growth. We need to have all these other elements in place for it to work.
Mhm.
But it is the best channel we can actually find online at this moment.
No, I absolutely totally agree with you.
Mhm.
I want to, so as I was looking through LinkedIn Decoded, I was like, well, maybe we can add a little nugget about this in
Mhm.
here as well. Because just in the very beginning, as I was looking through it, you said that there is an unknown section in LinkedIn known as your social selling index. And I was like, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that. So what is that? And like why is it important?
Social Selling Index is one of the analytical tools on LinkedIn, which actually is not known to everyone,
It's,
but
I would say most everyone.
obviously, but it is the most powerful tool which show us exactly where we are in terms of how we are established there in terms of our personal brand, in terms of engagement with other prospects, and basically over 48% there is more chance for people who have high social selling index to actually land a sale than for other people. What does this
Really?
mean? Yeah,
Wow.
so these four elements of LinkedIn, and we will see exact percentage. We just need to log into our LinkedIn profile and in another tab in the browser to go to linkedin.com/SSI/sales. All it is /sales/SSI. And we will get this beautiful preview or where we stand in the industry. Uh, and my profile is rated in 1% of coaching and training industry in the world and 1% in my network. And I have people like Vincent Lakiani in my network. So it is very well positioned. And our job is to increase the percentages of that social selling index. And what that gives to us, it gives us more visibility, and when we get more visibility, 2% of that visibility will become prospects and potential clients. So it's obvious how this mechanism actually grow. And we just need to read and to see our ranking. And LinkedIn is actually explaining us what we need to work on.
Oh, so they have some steps because I was like, how on earth do you increase? Like, what's a simple step to increase your SSI?
Well, personal brand is the most important. They calculate everything, every single section on LinkedIn. Every single word is a keyword. Everything needs to be placed at the right place. And as more information we give, we are teaching the algorithm to who to present us. So if I'm using the specific keywords in regards to my personal brand, I will be presented to people who use similar things. And basically, it is a network inside a network. And based on the quality of the network, the quality of our results will be determined.
Okay. And also, like in every of your posts, then, should you have keywords? I mean, does that help also with the SSI or no?
Not so much.
Not so much.
This is in terms of the profile, but hashtags are more important in the post. And I think we mentioned that in our previous interview. There
Hmm.
are three hashtags which we need to have in order to get that incorporated in the URL of the post. More than three, LinkedIn see that we don't know what we are doing and it's just not giving us visibility. They have a very, very smart mechanism and protection behind the scenes. And basically, I have my own personal branding hashtag, Catherine Biroy. So people can follow the hashtag, but also every link will have my name. Now imagine one post, that post's link has my name, and then again my hashtag Catherine Biroy, and I don't know, 100 people engage with it. That is 100 ticks to a Google. Put this girl up there because she knows what she's talking about.
Right.
And this is when magic happens and how I actually landed like 20 to 200 million views on Google,
I
on
mean, that's
Google search
huge.
results.
That's an enormous amount of views on Google. It's just,
Yeah,
it's,
but Google
it's almost
likes
like
me.
you can't even like imagine that number of views on Google.
I actually got the Google Knowledge Panel, which mark me as a public person, and this is when everything increased dramatically. But all of that was based on my continual work on LinkedIn and
Mhm.
these engines recognizing my name, and that's a part of personal brand, right?
Wow. Well, I have to say, everyone needs to go to your site to get LinkedIn Decoded. And then, of course, your other book as well, Live from Your Heart and Mind. You are always such a great resource. And I know that it's your passion to help people because this is your mission statement to help people do what they love. I think that truly is the best mission statement I have ever heard.
Oh,
And
thank
you
you.
truly live it, I think, every day. And I absolutely adore you. So,
Oh,
all
thank
her contact information will be in the show notes, and as well as where to get her books. And again, thank you, Catherine. It's always amazing to see you and to connect with you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.